Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it destiny. Carl Jung. Have you ever felt a gnawing disconnect between who you are on the inside and who the world expects you to be? Like you're constantly performing, wearing a mask so convincing it has become inseparable from your face. Many of us walk through life feeling this profound estrangement, a quiet war raging within, shaping our choices, our relationships, and our very sense of purpose. We often call this fate, but what if it's merely the undiscovered parts of ourselves dictating our story? What if the life you're living isn't truly yours, but a carefully constructed illusion, a false self that has taken the reins? For centuries, philosophers, mystics, and poets have hinted at this inner realm, this undiscovered self. But it was the pioneering work of Carl Jung that systematically mapped this hidden landscape of the human psyche. Jung proposed that beyond our conscious awareness, there exists a vast, intricate inner world, the unconscious, which holds the blueprints of who we truly are. This isn't just a dusty attic of forgotten memories, but a dynamic, living force continuously influencing our thoughts, feelings, and actions. And here lies the paradox. The more we ignore this inner world, the more it dictates our outer lives, often leading to conflict, neurosis, and a profound sense of meaninglessness. The journey to reclaim your authentic self, to dismantle the false self, is what Jung called individuation. It's not about becoming selfish or isolated, quite the opposite. It's the process by which you become a psychological individual, a whole indivisible unity, integrated and complete. This journey is often arduous, demanding immense courage and relentless honesty. It challenges every preconceived notion you have about yourself and the world. But it promises something invaluable, a life lived from your deepest truth, a life of profound meaning and purpose. It's about becoming truly you, not a carbon copy of someone else, nor a mere reflection of societal expectations. It's a return to your essence. So, what is this false self we speak of? Jung introduced the concept of the persona, derived from the Latin word for the mask worn by actors in ancient theater. The persona is essentially our public face, the social mask we adopt to fit into society, to play our roles as professionals, family members, or citizens. It's the collection of roles and expectations we project onto the world, often believing it to be our true identity. Think of the successful CEO who is always composed and in control, even when their inner world is in turmoil. Or the perpetually cheerful friend who hides deep sadness behind a bright smile. We develop this persona out of necessity to navigate the complexities of social interaction and gain acceptance. It's how we protect our sensitive inner core from the harsh realities of the external world, a necessary interface between our fragile individual self and the demanding collective. Without a persona, navigating society would be almost impossible. We'd be constantly vulnerable to every judgment and expectation. It allows us to perform specific functions and roles, essential for cooperation and social cohesion. However, the danger arises when we become identified with our persona, when we lose touch with the authentic self beneath the mask. We start believing that we are the role we play, leading to a shallow, artificial existence. This over-identification with the persona is a key component of the false self. It prevents genuine self-expression and hinders true connection with others. When this happens, we become like an actor who forgets they are acting, trapped in a performance that is no longer serving their true nature. The energy meant for genuine living is consumed by maintaining an external image, leading to inner impoverishment and dissatisfaction. Imagine someone who has always been praised for being the strong one in their family. They might suppress any sign of weakness, fear, or vulnerability, even when genuinely struggling, because their persona demands invincibility. This creates a deep internal rift, a chasm between who they are and who they pretend to be. This constant pretense is exhausting, creating anxiety and a profound sense of isolation. Because how can anyone truly know you if you're always hiding behind a meticulously crafted facade? But the false self is more than just a persona. It's also rooted in our ego consciousness becoming too solidified and one-sided. The ego, our conscious sense of I, is essential for navigating the outer world. It allows us to think, plan, and act. Yet if the ego believes itself to be the entirety of the psyche, it becomes inflated, blind to the vast, rich resources of the unconscious. This ego inflation leads to a narrow, rigid worldview, where we try to control everything, deny our vulnerabilities, and suppress anything that doesn't fit our conscious self-image. It's a dangerous path, as history has shown us repeatedly with inflated leaders and fanatical ideologies. Consider the person who always has to be right, or who can't admit a mistake. Their ego is so identified with its own perceived perfection that it cannot tolerate any challenge to its conscious image, cutting them off from learning and growth. This ego inflation often manifests as an inability to accept feedback, a constant need for external validation, or an overwhelming fear of failure, all of which stifle genuine development. This brings us to the shadow, perhaps the most accessible, yet often most feared, aspect of the unconscious. The shadow is everything we deny about ourselves, our repressed desires, fears, weaknesses, and socially unacceptable impulses. It's the dark side of our personality that we push into the unconscious because it doesn't align with our conscious ego ideal. But the shadow isn't just negative. It also contains undeveloped positive qualities like spontaneity, creativity, and intuition that we might have suppressed out of fear or societal conditioning. Think of the person who is always told to be polite and not make a fuss. Their shadow might contain suppressed assertiveness or a powerful creative drive that was deemed disruptive. Or the individual who prides themselves on their rationality and control, yet secretly harbors intense, chaotic emotions they refuse to acknowledge. These unacknowledged parts don't simply vanish. They fester, becoming autonomous complexes that can influence us from beneath the surface, often in self-defeating ways. If they refuse to acknowledge this shadow, it doesn't disappear. Instead, it can be projected onto others. Suddenly, they find themselves inexplicably irritated by someone else's rudeness, when in reality they are reacting to their own unacknowledged aggressive impulses. This projection prevents self-knowledge and distorts our perception of others and the world. We see in others what we refuse to see in ourselves. This is why judgmental people are often projecting their own hidden flaws, or why someone obsessively critical of a politician's greed might be denying their own latent desire for power. The unacknowledged shadow, operating unconsciously, can cause immense personal and collective harm, as seen in societal prejudices and conflicts, fueling stereotypes and group hatred. When we collectively project our shadows onto a scapegoat, whether it's a minority group, a political opponent, or another nation, the results can be catastrophic, leading to persecution, war, and unimaginable cruelty. Confronting the shadow is not just a personal quest, but a social responsibility. The struggle with the shadow is a lifelong process, a battle for deliverance, as Jung called it. It requires immense self-awareness and a willingness to confront the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. This isn't about becoming your shadow, but about integrating it, bringing it into conscious awareness. By acknowledging these darker aspects, we can begin to understand their origins, their motivations, and ultimately, choose how to express them constructively. Instead of repressed anger exploding impulsively, it can be transformed into assertive action when needed. Instead of denied creativity festering as cynicism, it can be channeled into productive endeavors. Integrating the shadow allows us to reclaim lost energy, develop a more nuanced moral compass, and form more authentic relationships. Without this confrontation, the shadow can grow into a formidable inner enemy, leading to self-sabotage, neurosis, or even external destructive acts. It's like finding a treasure chest in a dark, dusty corner of your basement. Scary at first, but potentially full of immense value. Beyond the shadow lie other fundamental archetypes that contribute to the false self, particularly the anima in men and the animus in women. These aren't just about gender. They are primordial images of the opposite sex within our unconscious, carrying universal human experiences of relationship, emotion, and intellect. The anima is the unconscious feminine aspect in a man's psyche, embodying qualities like emotion, intuition, receptivity, and connection to the irrational. If a man represses his anima, perhaps due to societal pressures to be masculine and stoic, it can manifest negatively through moodiness, irritability, insecurity, or compulsive over-reliance on purely rational thought, leading to shallow relationships or a fear of genuine intimacy. He might struggle to understand emotional nuances in others, or become easily overwhelmed by his own unacknowledged feelings. This can lead to a rigid, one-sided personality, where he prioritizes logic and control above all else, often at the expense of his emotional well-being and his capacity for deep, meaningful relationships. Such a man might project his unacknowledged anima onto women, expecting them to carry the burden of his emotional life, or idealizing them to an unrealistic degree. Conversely, the animus is the unconscious masculine aspect in a woman's psyche, representing qualities like logic, objectivity, assertiveness, and spiritual insight. When a woman's animus is undeveloped or repressed, often because she's been taught to be submissive or passive, it can appear as rigid, dogmatic opinions, argumentative tendencies, or a cold, inaccessible demeanor. She might struggle with decision-making, feel perpetually insecure about her intellect, or project her unacknowledged masculine power onto men, leading to conflicts or unhealthy relationship patterns where she either submits entirely or aggressively dominates. She might constantly seek external validation for her opinions because her internal sense of authority is weak. Both the anima and animus are bridges to the deeper unconscious, and their healthy integration is a vital step in individuation. When these inner figures are acknowledged and understood, they can become guides, providing creative inspiration, spiritual insight, and facilitating profound connection with others. A man who integrates his anima can access his emotional depth and intuition, becoming more empathetic and creatively expressive. A woman who integrates her animus can develop strong convictions, clear thinking, and effective action without losing her feminine qualities. Without this integration, they can remain autonomous complexes, subtly sabotaging our relationships and hindering our journey toward wholeness, leading to misunderstandings and projections onto real people. The goal isn't to erase these complexes, but to bring them into conscious dialogue with the ego, transforming them from autonomous forces into allies that enrich our personality and lead us toward a more complete and balanced self. It is a dialogue between the conscious and unconscious. The death of the false self is not a literal death, but a symbolic one. It is the dismantling of these defensive structures, the persona, the unintegrated shadow, the projected anima animus, that we've mistakenly identified as our core identity. It's the realization that who we thought we were, this carefully constructed facade, is precisely what is holding us back from who we truly are. This process is rarely comfortable. It often involves a period of profound disorientation, akin to being lost in a vast, unknown wilderness. You might feel exposed, vulnerable, and question everything you once believed about yourself and your place in the world. Imagine leaving a comfortable, familiar home, only to find yourself in a dense fog, unable to see the path ahead. This is the liminal space, the night sea journey that precedes true transformation. It's a period of psychological alchemy, where the old self is broken down, dissolved, and prepared for a recombination into something new and more authentic. This can manifest as a feeling of emptiness, a loss of purpose, or a profound sense of loneliness. It's the ego's necessary humbling. This is where the concept of suffering enters Jungian thought, not as a punishment, but as a necessary catalyst for growth. As Jung observed, the actual process of individuation generally begins with the wounding of the personality and the suffering that accompanies it. This suffering forces us to confront our limitations, our defenses, and the parts of ourselves we've neglected. It's in these moments of crisis, when our usual coping mechanisms fail, that the unconscious reveals its deeper wisdom, pushing us toward transformation. It could be a career crisis, a relational breakdown, a sudden illness, or a profound existential questioning. These moments strip away the superficial, forcing us to look inward and seek deeper meaning beyond our external achievements or social standing. It's the universe, or perhaps your own psyche, serving you a wake-up call, urging you to stop living inauthentically and embrace the arduous but liberating path of self-discovery. This suffering is not aimless. It holds meaning, guiding you towards what is truly essential. And then, out of this symbolic death comes rebirth, the emergence of the true self. The self, in Jungian psychology, is the totality of the psyche, encompassing both conscious and unconscious aspects. It's your deepest, most authentic core, the guiding principle that orchestrates the entire individuation process. Think of it as your inner compass, always pointing towards wholeness and meaning. When you integrate the fragmented aspects of your personality, the ego learns to humble itself and listen to the unconscious. The shadow is acknowledged and its energy redirected. The anima animus are brought into conscious relationship toward psychological wholeness. This is not about achieving perfection, but about becoming fully human, accepting all facets of your being, light and dark, rational and irrational. It is a profound shift from egocentric living to self-centric living, where your actions are aligned with your deepest truth, not just external pressures. This leads to what Jung called an authentic relationship to oneself, which then naturally extends to more authentic relationships with others and a more meaningful engagement with the world. You become less susceptible to mass hysteria, political manipulation, or superficial trends because your roots are deeply planted in your own being. What does this look like in daily life? It means cultivating a deeper awareness of your dreams, for they are direct messages from the unconscious, often revealing what your conscious mind ignores. It means paying attention to your slips of the tongue, your spontaneous reactions, your strong emotions. These are often hints from the shadow or unintegrated complexes, trying to gain your attention. It means daring to be unpopular, if being popular means betraying your true self. Understanding that authenticity is more valuable than constant approval. It means understanding that conflict, both internal and external, is often a necessary part of growth, not something to be avoided at all costs. It means embracing paradoxes, recognizing that seemingly opposing forces within you, like strength and vulnerability, light and darkness, logic and emotion, are meant to coexist and inform each other, creating a richer, more complex human experience. It's about finding your individual path, even if it diverges from the well-trodden collective one, and walking it with integrity. Consider the common societal pressure to constantly be positive and happy. While positive thinking has its place, an over-reliance on it can become another form of false self, denying the reality of sadness, grief, or anger. Individuation teaches us to acknowledge all emotions, to sit with them, and to understand what they are trying to communicate. A truly individuated person doesn't suppress their sadness. They feel it, process it, and emerge with a deeper compassion. They don't deny their anger. They understand its source and channel it into constructive action for change. This integrated approach leads to genuine emotional resilience, not a fragile, superficial cheerfulness. Ultimately, individuation is about reclaiming your sovereignty, becoming the author of your own life, rather than merely an actor in a script written by others or by your unconscious complexes. It's a profound act of self-love and self-responsibility, demanding that you look honestly at yourself, even the parts you find uncomfortable. But the reward is incomparable, a life lived with authenticity, purpose, and a profound connection to the vast, mysterious depths of your own being. It's the journey to becoming genuinely whole. This journey of individuation, of confronting the false self and embracing the true, is perhaps the most vital quest you can undertake in a world that constantly pressures you to conform. It is the war within, fought not with weapons of destruction, but with the courage of self-discovery, with honesty, and with a relentless pursuit of truth. And in its victory, you don't conquer an enemy, but liberate yourself from the self-imposed prison of illusion, stepping into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. It's a challenging, profound, and endlessly rewarding path that ultimately leads to a richer, more authentic, and deeply meaningful existence. Are you ready to begin?